extermination, the elimination of Israel, and it is satanic because it has been that way from the beginning of time. This is whether it's been the Antichrist or Hitler or Herod before him or Haman before him or even going way back to Cain and Abel. Satan has always tried to eliminate that seed from which the Savior would come and crush his heel. We know that as the proto-evangelicum in Genesis 3:15. In other words, from Israel, from this line, from this seed will come the promised Savior. And Jesus is that Savior. And he came the first time. And see, Satan tried to thwart his first coming because it's about him. And how he's going to lose big time in the end. I don't want you reading a book about me being a loser. And that's what the book of Revelation is. But the whole book, the whole Bible is about his failed attempt to do what he said and declared he wanted to do, which got him cast out of heaven. And that is to be worshiped by ascending his throne above the Most High. And ever since that time, he has desired to be worshipped. So to eliminate the Jewish people and to say that they don't have any right to exist, that's satanic. And so the article goes on to say, Monday's Times of London quoted Jordan's King Abdullah as saying, "We are offering a third of the world to meet them with open arms," the king said. "The future is not the Jordan River or the Golan Heights or the Sinai. The future is Morocco in the Atlantic and Indonesia in the Pacific. That's the prize." Now watch this. He warned, "If we delay our peace negotiations, then there is going to be another conflict between Arabs or Muslims and Israel in the next 12 to 18 months. That would be May 2010 to the end of next year. Again, this is why we're putting this all in the context of the perfect prophetic storm, because it's all coming together. All the headlines talk about how Israel will probably have to launch a preemptive strike against Iran. And they use sort of that same timeline. And again, this is the common denominator in everything that we see and how everything is coming together. Another article, this one from the International Middle East Media Center News on Friday, August 21st. General outlines of Obama's peace plan. Palestinian legislator Hassan Quraishi stated that he received a draft of the American peace plan, which is still being formulated by U.S. President Barack Obama, who intends to present the final plan next month. That would be this month, September, the Palestine News Network reported. According to Quraishi, the draft includes 10 main points detailed as follows. I'm not going to read all 10, but I want to read for you point 8 and point 10. Now, keep in your hip pocket this common denominator, this timeline, this deadline, this time-driven dynamic and component to this prophecy. Here's point 8. The United States would guarantee the establishment of a Palestinian state in the summer of 2011. There's your timeline. Watch this one. This is interesting. Item 10. Israel starts releasing the Palestinian political detainees immediately after the peace deal is signed. Okay? Watch this. 3 years would be allocated for the release of the detainees. 3 years? What do we know to be true about the first 3.5 years of the 7-year tribulation? It all ties in. It all fits in. There is this sense that something's got to happen. I mean, across the board, believer or not, there is a sense in the world today that something, it's like this drop that's about to drip. It's like this boiling over point that's just about to, it's just this powder keg, as one has called it, where something has got to happen. It's all coming to a head. And again, I believe it's forming this perfect prophetic storm. Again, Reuters, this was just last week. Mitchell says has good meeting with Israelis. This is the U.S. Special Envoy George Mitchell, who was there in Israel, still is. In fact, will be there this upcoming week. But the article says he's seeking to restart Israeli-Palestinian peace negotiations. And he said he had a good meeting with 2 Israeli officials on Wednesday and would continue discussions next week. Senator Mitchell and the Israeli delegation reaffirmed their commitment to comprehensive peace and concrete steps by all parties toward that goal. The United States is seeking to bridge the 2 positions and to persuade Arab states to take steps toward normalizing relations with the Jewish state. Mitchell is working together an agreement to resume talks in time for an announcement at the UN General Assembly in late September. That's the end of this month. Everything's been gearing up. Everything's been pointing to this announcement with regards to this peace agreement and restarting it, aka confirming it. Now, Daniel 9:27, I'm sure you're all familiar with this, but I want to draw your attention to this prophecy. You can turn there if you'd like. This is Daniel 9:27. It says, he, speaking of the Antichrist, will confirm a covenant with many for 1 7. There's the period of 7 in the Hebrew. In the middle of the 7, this is the 3.5-year mark, he will put an end to sacrifice and offering, and on a wing of the temple he will set up an abomination that causes desolation until the end that is decreed is poured out on him. Look at the timeline. Immediately after this agreement is confirmed for a period of 7 years, it starts the clock ticking. 3.5 years into this, at the midpoint of the 7-year tribulation, the Jews between that time will have been allowed to rebuild their temple, and he will put himself in the temple. He will set up himself, demand that he be worshiped, because again, Satan has always wanted to be worshiped. And when he commits this abomination that causes desolation, which many believe is the unclean sacrificing and shedding and sprinkling of the blood of a pig in the Holy of Holies, that's an abomination, and it will cause desolation. And the Jews at that 3.5-year point will realize this is not our Messiah. Our Messiah would never do this. We've been deceived. And they will flee, many believe, to a place that is prepared for them where they will be protected for the last 3.5 years of the 7-year tribulation. And I happen to believe that it is in the modern day country of Jordan, a rock city called Petra. My wife and I in 1997 had the privilege of going there. I have family that lives in both Jordan and Egypt, and so we went to the pyramids in Egypt and went to Petra in Jordan, and I had my cousin take us, and it was amazing. I mean, this rock fortress is amazing. Many Bible scholars believe it will be the place that the Jews will flee to when the Antichrist commits this abomination that causes desolation, and God will miraculously protect his people. Because once they come to the realization this is the false Christ, they will accept the true Christ. And so for the last 3.5 years, they are protected. And that's what Daniel 9:27 confirms for us. Now, what's so fascinating about this prophecy is that the Antichrist does not write the peace plan. He just confirms it and he enforces it. In other words, it's already on the table. And what do we see now? We see a peace agreement already on the table. And everybody heretofore has tried to confirm it, has tried to enforce it, and nobody has succeeded at it because there's only one who will do it. And the Bible tells us it's the Antichrist. And by the way, we're not here when he confirms it. Okay? Everybody okay with that? Yeah. Do you want to be here? I don't want to be here. Are you kidding me? Listen, if I'm watching Fox News and I see I see Daniel 9:27 fulfilled, man, I missed the rapture. I can't believe it. I missed the rapture. See, all of you are going, I didn't. Bye-bye. Okay. Turn back a couple of pages to Daniel 8, chapter